Hi, everyone. This is Certified Master Life Coach Tina Heisman. This is my live marriage coaching call. I host these on a weekly basis to try to provide tips and information for women to have happy marriages, the happiest marriages possible. And I've just learned along the way through my marriages that there's things that we're not really taught in school. And so now we can learn them as adults, and it's easier for us to see, I think, once we get down the road a little bit in marriage and see what unique issues might crop up for us. So before I want to get started today, I want to let you know I have a free private Happy Wives community on Facebook where you can come to get inspiration for your marriage, and it is a happy place. It's facebook.com/groups/The Happy Wives Community, all one word. If that's too much to remember right now, you can just head over to my website, tinaheisman.com. There's a banner at the bottom of the front page, and you can join us over there that way. Okay, so let's dive in. It's going to be an interesting one. The topic for today's call is what to do when your husband doesn't do what he's supposed to do. That's kind of a mouthful of words. But we all have had those instances where maybe our husband told us he would do something, but he didn't do it or something like that. So I'm just going to jump right in with a story, a recent story that happened to me, and walk you through it that way. Okay, so one recent morning, I'm getting ready to take my daughter to school and attend her morning mass, and then I was going to spend the rest of the day shopping with my son. He had the day off of school, and the weather was beautiful, and everything was happy. It was going to be a great day. And while I'm getting ready for the day, my husband is checking his email and says, "Oh, it's September 1st. You're driving with an expired license tag." "Really?" I say. "How so?" And, a little frustrated, honestly, because, why? We get months' notice for these, right? Well, he said it expired August 31st, and I didn't renew it yet. So I said, "How is that possible? You're always on top of everything," which this was a compliment, but also I am probing because I'm curious, what happened with that? Because maybe the email didn't come or something wacky, but no, he knew about it, and he just said, "Well, not this." So I was frustrated because momentarily, because I know that you get a couple of months' notice for it, it happens the same time every year. And I just don't like driving around with expired tags. It seems like we're always really close on this one. But, so because I'm not in charge of this at my house, my husband is, and he ignored it or procrastinated on it or whatever. So now I'm the one who has to drive around illegally, worried I might get pulled over. And if I were to get pulled over, I would just feel embarrassed. And if we got a ticket, I would be kind of ticked off, ticked off at a ticket. Sorry, I didn't mean to do that. But, it's all for something that's not my fault. It was totally preventable. And now this is a minor thing, right, girls? So this is minor. This is not a big, huge thing. But the tactic that I'm going to teach you today can be used for big, huge things. So, in my mind, while this conversation is going on with my husband, I'm just having these images of getting pulled over in my mind and the excuse that I'll use with the police officer, like, "Oh, don't shoot the messenger," something like that. But then I remembered the car's actually in his name, so if we do get a ticket, it'll be on his record, not mine. So I mentioned that to him, and we both laughed. It was kind of funny. So he went online so that he could quickly submit, the registration. But then the next words I hear out of his mouth are, "Well, this just got more complicated." Okay, those were not the words I wanted to hear. Like, really? What could be more complicated? And he said, "You have to go get an emissions test before you renew." I'm like, really? My car's like a 2013. It's only like 4 years old. How is that possible? I thought that was for old cars. So now suddenly my Friday has, I guess got something else on it. Sure, I could take care of it right that day, or I could wait for another day. It's my choice how I'm going to handle it. It's my choice how my feelings are going to be about it and everything else. I can tell you I felt frustrated because I don't want to feel embarrassed by getting pulled over, and I don't really have time to get pulled over. I don't know about you, but when I'm going places, I might leave a little extra time, but I got to get where I'm going. And I don't want it to cost our family extra money if I get a ticket. That sucks. And also, I was frustrated because it was avoidable if my husband would have taken care of it right away. But he's a last-minute guy. That's just how he rolls, always has been. And so it's the exact opposite of me, and it drives me crazy. But this is his thing, right? This is his mistake. And so I think in the distant past of my life, when we were first married, this might have been a big brawl or a big to-do, or I would have really let these feelings of frustration come out. But I've just come so far, thanks to the work that I'm going to teach you today, that I'm able to process this in my head really quickly and get a better grip on things. And so I don't think I handled this exactly perfectly that day, but definitely handled it much better than I would have way in the beginning of our marriage. So I want to walk you through that, because I'm sure you have ideas of your own or experiences of your own where your husband has dropped the ball on something and then it landed squarely in your lap at your inconvenience. So this is a proven technique taught by many life coaches and even therapists. So step one, we're going to just jump right in. I hope you have a pencil and paper handy. If you don't, maybe you could pause this if you're listening and grab a pen and paper, because you're going to write it down. Okay, so step one is to examine your thoughts. So what are you thinking as a result of what happened? And what I would suggest you do as you're learning this practice in the beginning is to actually write it down. Take a minute, step away from the conversation if you can, and go write it down. Like, okay, what am I thinking? Well, one thought that entered my head was, he must not, he doesn't care about me, if he just procrastinated on this and left it for me to deal with. And so you write down every thought, like, I'm feeling annoyed that I have to do this. I'm feeling, frustrated. I'm feeling uncared for, unloved. I'm feeling inconvenienced. Write down your thoughts. And then decide which one is bothering you the most, because we're just going to pick one of them to work with. And believe it or not, that's all we need to pick one. Pick the one that's bothering you the most, and that's the one we're going to work with, okay? So that was step one, examine your thoughts. Step two is to ask yourself if that thought is true. So the example I gave you was, my husband doesn't care about me because he missed this deadline. Is that true? Well, probably not. It's probably a pretty big stretch to believe that your husband doesn't care about you as a result of making a human error, right? We all make mistakes all the time. So that right there with this one, could stop you in your tracks of your anger, because no, he didn't do it on purpose. He didn't do it because he doesn't care about you. Whatever his reasons are, it doesn't even matter, but it's not those things. The other question that I like to ask myself sometimes is, will this matter in 10 years? Now, this example that you and I are talking about today is a small example. And in this example, no, this is not going to matter in 10 years at all. Maybe you have something bigger that you're working with that will matter in 10 years. But be honest with yourself when you're trying to answer the question, okay? Is it true? Is it true? So maybe, I got a no on mine, but maybe you might get a yes on yours, that your thought is true. So that's going to be handled in a different way. So we're going to move on to step three. Step three is to ask yourself, how does it make me feel to believe this thought? So in my example, the thought that my husband doesn't care about me because he forgot to do this. How does it make me feel to believe that thought? Well, horrible, like angry, sad. Like if that was true, I would feel horrible, right? So maybe you are thinking that it's true. And so then your feelings, are really there, your feelings of anger or sadness. And I want to give you a tip on feelings, the difference between thoughts and feelings, because step one is to come up with a thought, and then step three here was to come up with a feeling. A thought is like a sentence. It's like the sentence that my husband doesn't care about me. A feeling is one word. It's a feeling word. I feel angry or anxious or depressed or sad or lonely. Okay? Emotions are only one word. So that's important to know. And that's what we're looking for in step three, is just that one word. So the one word that I would say believing that my husband doesn't care about me would be angry or sad. Now, step 4 is to find this feeling in your body, because every emotion has a place in your body. Your thoughts are up in your head, but your emotions are in your body. So as you're standing there right now feeling frustrated because you think your husband doesn't care about you, where does that feel? Where do you feel that in your body? Like maybe you feel it with tense muscles, or you feel it in your stomach, or maybe it made your head hurt. If you wait for 1 minute and just assess your body, you'll see where it is. It's really good to notice this, girls, because your thoughts and feelings are separate. They're separate, and this is so important to know, because if we have a thought, you have a thought, my husband doesn't care about me. Your feeling is anger. This feeling of anger is causing a physical sensation in your body. So now that's bad and that hurts. So now we know that they're separate, and we must change that thought. The thought that gave us the emotion. Do you see how that comes? The thoughts come first. Your thoughts cause your emotions. And I want you to think about this. It's not the fact that your husband forgot to send in the car registration that's upsetting you, right? Like that's a fact. He forgot to do it. It's your thought that your husband doesn't care about you is what's causing you to feel bad, right? That's what's causing the anger or the sadness. Okay, so I hope you have that. Now, next, ladies, we're going to go to step 5, and that is to find a believable thought that would feel more peaceful. So here's a thought that I came up in the moment with my example was, I know my husband loves me. He just made a mistake. In fact, he just started a new job a month ago, so kind of has had a lot on his plate, right? Also, we have a home remodeling project going on, kind of a lot on his mind, right? So these are thoughts that help talk you out of your tree is what I always like to say. And then I tell myself, you just got to give him some grace. I like to receive grace for my mistakes, so I should give others mistakes grace for their mistakes as well. And what I would tell you is to continue coming up with positive thoughts until you find one that brings you peace. I mean, sometimes I've worked with some women who are maybe so frustrated with their husbands that they can say, well, this is the best they could do. I'm thankful we're still married today. Okay, sometimes we just can't get past things in the moment, and we need some more time. Find something that you can be more positive. And then you're going to notice what happens when you come up with this thought. Like when I came up with that thought, oh gosh, he just made a mistake. He's been so bogged down with work in this remodeling project. And then I immediately notice the tension leaving my body. And I can feel the grace flooding in and the love, kind of coming back in. And then I'm ready to be there as part of the solution to the problem instead of making it worse by making him feel bad. I got to be honest, you guys, way back early in our marriage, I probably would have thrown the guilt trip down on him and everything else. And what good does that do, right? What good does that do? I can tell you the difference between, an argument way back when and an argument now for us since I've started practicing this technique is huge. It's life-changing. And you know what? It's freeing, because do you really want to be mad at your husband? Not really. No, you don't. And you're not mad because he forgot to do something. You're mad because of your thoughts about what he did. You're probably making things up in your mind that make it worse. And we are all super duper good at this. There's a lot of different terminologies for that. You know what I mean? Like you could be using a mental filter of, negativity and only seeing the things that he does that are negative. Or mind reading, like thinking that you know what he's thinking, that he did it on purpose just to, or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Which he did not, I'm sure. And so even in this case, you could be catastrophizing it, where you're thinking the worst possible thing's going to happen. Like instead of just sitting with the fact that, okay, this is where we're at, this is the truth, this is where we're at, and accepting it, did you see what my mind did? It went all the way down the road to getting a ticket, right? That's called catastrophize, because I can't even say the word, catastrophizing, right? And so that's not necessary. That is unhealthy and not necessary, and it's a choice. You can choose to go down that train of thought if you don't mind being unhappy and probably not being kind to your husband, or you can choose a more peaceful path. And that's the path that I'm asking you to consider. And it's 5 steps. I just want to summarize the 5 steps. And if you need more on this, please reach out to me and I can get to you this transcript in writing or something maybe. So step 1, after you feel upset by something that your husband or anyone else has done, examine your thoughts. What are you thinking? Write them all down. I'm frustrated. I'm because of this. I'm angry because of that. All of your thoughts. These are sentences. Step 2, ask yourself if it's true. Step 3, ask yourself how it makes you feel. Remember, a feeling is one word. It's an emotion. Step 4, find the feeling in your body. Where in your body is it? And then step 5 is to find a believable thought that would feel more peaceful. Many, 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 many times, this is going to solve your argument for you. Not always, right? Sometimes there might need to be a conversation with your husband, but it doesn't have to be in the heat of the moment. You can come back at it at another time when you're in a more positive mindset, okay? All right, girls. So this could really be life-changing if you'll jump on it, and I would love to talk to you more about it if you need more. I realize that it's a really big process, and it can be hard for some of us to go there, but you can do it. I believe in you. If you need help, reach out to me. Also, on my website, I have a free mini marriage makeover that helps you fix challenges in your marriage, and so you could go download that at tinaheisman.com. It's free. Also, don't forget to join the Happy Wives community on Facebook. We would love to see you there and help you out if you're having any struggles in your marriage. So thank you so much for joining me, and I will talk to you next week.